Hey, this is Kim Offord, Realtor, author, art collector. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about 5 things that you cannot ask your realtor. So let's jump right on into it. Let's jump into it. So first question. Is this a bad neighborhood? And kind of the answer to this question kind of flows into the second question as well. Is this a bad neighborhood? Realtors cannot answer any questions with regard to crime rate, whether or not a neighborhood is a good neighborhood versus a bad neighborhood. Those are questions that we just cannot answer. When I have someone that asks me that question, hey, is this a good neighborhood for me? What I always do is I tell them to go look at the website. For if they're thinking if they're alluding to crime rates, I have them to go and look at the local police website with the crime stats. They can take a look at that. I tell them to drive the neighborhood in the morning, the evening, the afternoon. Take a look for yourself. Ask around. Ask people who you know who live in that neighborhood. They can go that route. But I never answer that question because we cannot answer that question as realtors. The second question, this kind of flows into that. Where is a good neighborhood? I want to raise my family in a good neighborhood. And I want to raise my family in a neighborhood with people who look like me. Where should I go? I cannot answer that question. That is a fair housing. That question can get me a nice fair housing violation. There was a thing called steering. And what that means is that, people are shown places in one community, or they're shown one place in the community, but they're not given the opportunity to look in other communities because they're steered toward one particular community. So it leads to discrimination. So I'll give you a good example. So if I go to a realtor and I say, hey, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. I want to spend $250,000. They look at me and only show me neighborhoods with predominantly African-American people. That's steering. Even if I went and asked that realtor to show me, and I said specifically, show me homes in African-American neighborhoods, they can't do that. They can give me a list of homes that meet the criteria of 3 bedrooms, 2 baths with $250,000 or 200, whatever I said my limit was, 250,000. And let's say I threw in another point and said, I want to be 10 minutes from a 10-minute commute from my job. Then they can look at every home within a 10-minute radius from my house to my job, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths with $250,000 as my spending limit. They cannot steer me to a better neighborhood or a neighborhood that they think I should be in, or a neighborhood that, they can't steer me, basically. Okay. All right. So that's the second question. So let's talk about the third question. Is this a good place for families? Again, that seems like a really innocent question. It really does, but it gets into fair housing violation as well. So this is a good time to tell you this. So fair housing, with the fair housing laws, there are what's called protected classes for fair housing. And you cannot discriminate against anyone based on anyone that falls within for any reason within those protected classes. So the classes are race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. And in certain counties, they may add another, class into that. So you can't ask me, is this a good place to raise a family? Are there other families here? Are there families with children? Are there any families here with, with toddlers or with high school age kids, those are questions that we cannot answer. Okay, we can't answer that question. The fourth question that we're asked a lot, and those are any questions that are technically legal advice in nature. We can't answer any questions that give you legal advice because we're realtors. We're not attorneys. Now, there are some attorneys who do practice real estate, and some realtors who are attorneys, they practice law, vice versa, etc. That's different, but we cannot give legal advice as realtors. What would be a legal advice question? Well, a question that's, for instance, what are the implications of putting this property into an LLC after I close? We can't answer those questions as realtors in terms of the legality around putting that property in an LLC, etc. We can guide you to an attorney who can answer those questions, but we can't answer those questions because we can't practice law. We are not attorneys. We are not licensed to practice law. We're licensed to practice the sale of real estate. All right. And the last thing is, what do you think I qualify for in terms of a loan? We can't answer that question. We're not lenders. We are not lenders. So a realtor should not look at your financials and look at your, whatever it is that you are, showing them to show what you make in money or what your financial capabilities are. We cannot tell you how much you can qualify for. That is the job of a lender. And any realtor who does that, if they're not a lender, they shouldn't, because that is not our job. I will have personally, I'll have that conversation about why you need to get pre-approved. What is it that's why is it valuable for you to get pre-approved before we go anywhere, before we see any houses? I'll have that conversation with you. I'll even have the conversation with you after you've gotten your pre-approval about how that may or may not limit your real estate choices or open up your real estate choices. I'll have those types of conversations with you, but I will not tell you how much you can qualify for, because that's not my job. Okay, I will refer you to a lender, quick, fast, and in a hurry. So those are the 5 things, and there's some more, but I won't go into it. But those are the 5 questions that your realtor cannot answer.